The fire inside you is unstoppable. You are the storm they never saw coming. Every barrier set against you is already collapsing under its own weight, because those who wish your downfall unknowingly plant the seeds of their own undoing. The reckoning that unfolds isn't just a clash of forces, it's a revelation of truth where shadows dissolve and clarity rises. They once believed control meant silencing your voice, twisting your steps, and chaining your spirit. Yet all along, the universe was scripting a reversal, arranging each moment so that their schemes collapse like fragile glass towers under the pressure of their own deceit. The years you carried their weight, second-guessed your worth, and bent yourself to keep peace that was never real, those days are no longer chains, but proof of the strength that forged you. Now the orchestration is clear. What was meant to break you has become the very stage of your ascension. While they built illusions, you became unshakable. While they plotted endings, destiny carved a beginning only you could own. This is not survival, it is triumph written in the fabric of the cosmos. You're not here by chance. Feel the pull? Tap join to unlock truth, purpose, and a tribe that gets it. This is more than a membership, it's your calling. You are the kind of soul who once mistook manipulation for care, not realizing the subtle currents shaping the path beneath your feet. What you endured wasn't simple misunderstanding, it was a deliberate weaving of snares designed to mute the force of your essence. In moments when you thought restraint was compassion, unseen hands were carefully constructing invisible barriers. Each pause, each swallowed truth, each hesitation to claim your full presence became a thread in a web meant to bind you. What looked like harmony was, in fact, control disguised as love. The brilliance within you, once radiant, was pressed into smaller and smaller corners until your spirit began to question its right to shine at all. Every self-doubt whispered into your mind, every step you softened for their comfort, became fuel for those too hollow to generate their own light. What they drained from you was never theirs to claim. Behind the curtain of daily exchanges, your patterns were under quiet observation. They dissected your spirit not with compassion, but with cold calculation, noting how your heart moved, how your voice faltered, and where your trust opened the door for intrusion. What you thought was intimacy was often surveillance in disguise. Years could pass before the truth revealed itself, before you realized that kindness had been weaponized, and your willingness to forgive was used as entry into spaces too sacred for betrayal. Yet even in that blindness, your spirit was gathering strength, preparing for the moment of recognition. What once looked like innocence in you was never weakness, it was the proof of a heart uncorrupted by their games. And when awakening came, it shattered the structure they relied on. Suddenly, the tools they forged from your silence no longer fit the person who refused to bend. Now the design is clear, they could never diminish the core of who you are, only attempt to disguise it. What was stolen becomes restored, and what was studied in shadows becomes the very light that exposes every hidden scheme. Their blueprints of control dissolve, while your sovereignty stands unshaken. You are the one who has witnessed how illusion can be crafted into a mask, how someone can bend every conflict into a stage where they play the wounded hero. They weave stories of persecution, cloak themselves in false fragility, and gather sympathizers who cheer for their performance while slowly undermining the support meant for you. The script is always the same, your truth becomes painted as cruelty, your voice branded as an attack, while theirs is adorned with pity. Around them grows a circle of eager listeners who feed on distorted tales, reinforcing the lie until even silence feels like betrayal. What you thought was connection becomes corrosion, a steady erosion of trust and loyalty. Those closest to you are pulled into the charade. Companions once trusted become reporters of your every move, relatives become tools for manipulation, and your compassion, your greatest gift, becomes the very chain they use to hold you captive in their theater of despair. What feels like care morphs into confinement. Yet what they fail to understand is that every attempt to fracture your spirit reshapes into something unbreakable. Pain does not vanish into nothing, it transforms, shifts, and reforms into currents of strength that can't be stolen. What was taken in shadows returns multiplied in clarity and resilience. Your scars become maps of wisdom, Your tears become rivers that carve valleys of depth, and your endurance becomes a reservoir that cannot run dry. Their efforts to weaken you only compress the power within until it erupts in brilliance no deception can contain. The balance of existence does not bend to their theatrics. What they believed was control was nothing more than a temporary illusion, because the forces that govern life ensure that every distortion eventually meets correction. Justice is woven into the fabric of creation, and it arrives with certainty. In the end, their empire of falsehood collapses under its own weight, while you rise carrying treasures forged from hardship. The lies dissolve, the truth stands luminous, and the very stage they built to confine you becomes the ground where you stand unshaken, radiant, and free. You are the one who has endured the silent war of being told your own essence is a flaw. They tried to make you doubt your strength by twisting your sensitivity into fragility, persuading you that your unique awareness was nothing more than fantasy. Every attempt to strip you from your center was meant to convince you that your voice held no authority, that your insight was an illusion. The celebration of your supposed defeat was always premature. They mistook your moments of questioning as surrender, not realizing that reflection is not weakness but the sharpening of vision. What they labeled as delusion was simply perception too deep for them to comprehend, a clarity they could never reach. If your heart overflows with God's blessings, let that love shine. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to plant seeds of faith that will impact countless lives. Your generosity reflects His abundance. Be a vessel of His grace and watch His kingdom flourish through you. Behind closed doors, schemes were set into motion. They cultivated rumors like crops, planting seeds of mistrust in the minds of anyone who might stand beside you. With calculated whispers, they crafted a distorted picture of who you are, ensuring that those who once believed in your brilliance would now hesitate. The narrative painted you as erratic, volatile, even dangerous, yet every accusation was a mirror of their own shadow. They wrapped their stories in false concern, masking venomous care, until entire groups accepted the lie without question. In their hands, gossip became architecture, designed to erode your foundation. The most insidious tactic was not just slander, but the orchestration of collapse. They deliberately tightened the pressure, manufactured crises, and then pointed to your natural human response as proof of their story. What they broke in you was paraded as evidence of what you had always been. But the truth they feared most is that you cannot be dismantled forever. The same storms meant to undo you became the forge that hardened your resolve. The fragments they scattered reassemble into something greater, sharper, untouchable. Their campaign could tarnish your name for a season, but it could never extinguish your essence. In time, the illusion unravels. Those who once listened to the lies begin to notice the fractures in the performance. The strength they claimed you lacked becomes undeniable, the vision they mocked becomes undeniable proof of foresight. And the very tactics used to silence you echo back as condemnation of their own design, while you rise unbroken, radiant, and free. You are the one who has seen how cruelty can be engineered with intention, designed not by accident but by careful calculation. Strategies are studied, weaknesses analyzed, and every move is shaped with the precision of someone who wishes to dismantle rather than to heal. This is not random malice, it is organized warfare meant to leave scars deeper than the surface. The attack is never limited to the external. They draw you into the process itself, turning your own heart against you. Every whisper convinces you that failure is evidence of your flaws, that loneliness confirms your worthlessness, and that suffering is punishment for being unfit. In this twisted theater, your own compassion becomes the weapon used to keep you bound. Disguised as broken seekers, they approach you with outstretched hands, begging for the very gifts that define your essence. Your wisdom, your love, your fire, all siphoned under the illusion that endless giving is noble. Yet what they call service is nothing more than theft. The chains are built from devotion, the prison constructed from generosity, and the cage forged from your deepest care. But nothing escapes the eyes of higher order. Every exchange is written into the fabric of existence, each act weighed with absolute accuracy. Their fleeting victories are not triumphs but self-inflicted wounds, transactions written in ink that cannot be erased. The cost is not postponed, it compounds, collecting interest until the debt demands repayment. The energy they release in malice circles back with unstoppable force. Words meant to tarnish create stains on their own spirit. Plots to block your path rebound as traps for their own steps. The rituals they craft in secret become the very anchors that drag them downward, their intentions transformed into chains around their own necks. Even the tools they once trusted turn hostile. Devices that carried their messages reveal their desperation. Networks once thought impenetrable leak the truth. Hidden transactions mark trails that cannot be erased. The fortress of secrecy they built crumbles, exposing every crack to the judgment of universal order. And when the weight becomes too much, it is not an outside force that delivers the final blow. It is abandonment from the very guides and unseen allies who once tolerated their descent. Love has boundaries, patience has limits, and even the most merciful spirits withdraw when darkness is chosen again and again. What remains is emptiness, an exile not imposed, but earned. A veil once stood between you and the weight of consequence, but that curtain is torn away. The unseen guardians that once bent storms away now dissolve into silence, and your steps echo bare against the laws that bind all things. No cushion remains, no shield intercedes, every act now strikes against the world with unfiltered return. What once was lineage's anchor becomes a tribunal in shadow. Blood memory that carried songs of strength now whispers verdicts, not lullabies. The ancestors lean not as counsel but as jury, swift in their reckoning, stern in their refusal to overlook the debts left behind. A body that bore years of quiet cruelty now bends inward, collapsing under its own secret poisons. Where once words wounded unseen, now flesh itself mutinies. Physicians stumble in confusion, instruments reveal nothing, and yet systems within unravel like threads set aflame. Illness grows not from logic but from hidden tides rising within. Small disturbances swell into roaring collapse, with organs faltering as though each carried a ledger of wrongs finally called due. No known map fits this terrain, no cure calms the rebellion. Time itself has been measured, not by clocks nor calendars of men, but by decree etched in the unseen. Between half a year and nearly another, the pages have been allotted. The sands fall not in haste, yet each grain knows its mark. In this span lies the last chance for reflection, the narrow corridor where truth can be faced before the doors close. This is not mercy denied, but mercy offered in finite measure, so that silence may be entered with clarity rather than denial. For in lifting hand against a destiny woven by the divine, the struggle was never with flesh but with order itself. And where order is contested, the cosmos bends back with certainty. No petition of mortals, no intervention of medicine, alters what was sealed at the very moment the first strike was dared. The throne they built from shadows trembles beneath them, collapsing as swiftly as their body falters. Fortunes once swollen through deception disintegrate without warning. Stockpiles amassed while others starved are stripped bare, leaving coffers echoing. Displays of power once meant to humiliate turn into relics dissolving before their eyes, while debts gather like storms on the horizon. Courts close in, alliances fragment, and the illusion of stability vanishes with cruel precision. Those who once praised their might now scatter, unwilling to drown with the captain steering into ruin. Where once applause followed their name, silence takes its place. Accounts reveal emptiness, contracts turn into traps, ventures prove to be nothing but illusions dressed as triumph. Possessions they thought untouchable slip from their hands as systems they never considered rise to demand payment. The collapse is not a stumble but a freefall. Structures carefully arranged topple like brittle glass under weight they can no longer hold. Each safety net they counted on frays at once, leaving only exposure. Their empire, once painted as invincible, is revealed to have been nothing more than scaffolding without foundation. And when the walls come down, the faithful who once shielded them choose flight over loyalty. The very ones who fed the flames of cruelty and stood behind whispered commands withdraw in sudden haste. They sense the shift and carry away whatever they can, leaving hollow halls behind. The departure is not betrayal but survival. Companions turn into ghosts, recognizing the sinking of a vessel too heavy with arrogance. Those who once encouraged malice now refuse to stand as shield, retreating to preserve themselves. The absence leaves the orchestrator stripped of buffers, a lone figure forced into reckoning. Isolation grows louder than any judgment. With no one to deflect the blows, they face what remains head-on. The fortress they believed eternal transforms into an open plain where they stand visible to the consequences they once evaded. There is no place left to redirect the fall. What was once a dominion of control becomes a cage of their own making. Riches transform into ashes, allies into shadows, and power into chains that tighten without relief. In the end, the empire does not simply fall, it unmasks itself, revealing nothing but emptiness at its core. The chamber once filled with endless affirmations now falls into silence, leaving only the weight of their own unchallenged voice. No choir repeats the illusions back to them, no crowd cushions the sting of truth. What remains is the hollow sound of thoughts with nowhere to hide, pressing heavier than any locked door or barred gate could ever do. The solitude that follows is sharper than exile. It is not simply distance from people, but distance from the false warmth they mistook as guidance. The absence of others unmasks the absence of connection to the higher source they once ignored. This emptiness is not ordinary loneliness, it is the realization of having stepped outside the flow of grace. Isolation arrives cloaked as punishment, yet it bears within it the seed of teaching. It strips away every shield, every comforting distortion. What lingers is the stark image of self, unadorned and unfiltered, confronting its own shape beneath relentless clarity. In the stillness, excuses lose their footing. Narratives built through the approval of others collapse under their own fragility. Patterns of cruelty and deceit are no longer softened by the nods of accomplices but stand exposed, demanding acknowledgement. Every hour stretches long, becoming a trial where their own conscience is both accuser and witness. There is no jury to convince, no ally to shift blame toward. Each silence rings with the reminder that the universe itself has taken the role of examiner, present in every breath. What once felt like companionship now reveals itself as dependency on illusion. Without the mirrors of manipulation reflecting a crafted image, the raw truth casts shadows that cannot be escaped. The lesson is not whispered but carved through absence, through the pressing weight of quiet that leaves no escape route. This solitude is not an ending but a stage set for reckoning. It carries both burden and possibility, to confront the truth of what was made through choice, and to stand unshielded before the greater order that observes without error. In that unrelenting silence, judgment and instruction become one. The principles they once laughed at now surround them with undeniable force. What they dismissed as fantasy unfolds in tangible form, pressing against their life with evidence too sharp to ignore. The laws that bind existence reveal themselves not in whispers, but in storms that cannot be silenced. Where once they boasted immunity, they now sit in a classroom where the lessons are carved into reality itself. The curriculum offers no indulgence, no delay, no gentle introduction. It is learning through upheaval, with consequences arriving faster than comprehension, leaving no space for escape. Each error of the past is presented back like a ledger, not in ink but in lived reversal. They are shown that nothing was ever forgotten, that every choice demanded a payment waiting just beyond the edge of arrogance. Now the collection arrives with certainty, without the possibility of bargaining. While their foundation dissolves beneath them, your path solidifies with precision. The threads of your destiny weave into clarity, forming a tapestry brighter than anything previously imagined. As one world collapses, another rises, balanced by design, not by chance. The rhythm of events proves intentional. Their blocked gates correspond with your doors opening wide. What falls from their grasp drifts into your hands with grace, as if every transfer had been prepared long before this moment arrived. What once was scarcity turns into rivers of abundance flowing toward you. Relationships once fractured now make room for alliances filled with truth and strength. Each gap left behind is not emptiness but an invitation for growth, for something purer to step in. And as their punishment echoes, your reward resounds. The timing is not coincidence but orchestration, a reminder that higher order does not forget. Their undoing mirrors your ascension, a testament that the universe does not simply balance but also elevates those aligned with its current. The dispute that lingered like a shadow over your life begins to dissolve, replaced with clarity that favors your side. Matters of wealth, property, or inheritance shift unmistakably in your direction. What was withheld now arrives with restitution, not only restored but multiplied by the cost of obstruction. Truth long buried rises from silence, carrying proof that no hand can deny. Paper trails hidden with care emerge as if summoned by fate itself. Witnesses once silenced feel compelled to break their quiet, their words cutting through deception. The very records meant to be concealed reveal themselves at the precise moment, crafting an outcome impossible to contest. Justice does not whisper, it thunders. Efforts once stifled return with amplified strength, rushing back toward you as though guided by unseen currents. Creative works shelved by sabotage reappear in full force. Collaborations poisoned by malice are reborn, this time cleansed of distortion. What was blocked before is now unstoppable, surging into motion with divine acceleration. Those who turned their backs under false impressions now circle back with confessions and apologies. They speak of manipulation, of lies once believed. Where there was betrayal, there is recognition. Doors that once felt sealed shut swing open with such momentum that keeping pace becomes its own challenge. Ideas once mocked are now vehicles of transformation. Artistic visions expand outward, bending the shape of culture and industry. Business endeavors previously dismissed flourish into towers of wealth, growing beyond the measure of imagination. The very seeds they attempted to crush sprout into forests. What was once ridiculed in you becomes medicine for others. The talents they belittled prove to be gifts, reaching the very people who were meant to find healing through your hands. Each act of service magnifies the truth of your path, each creation a testament to the power of alignment. The contrast grows undeniable. While those who sought to suppress you unravel, you ascend into fulfillment. Every setback converts into fuel, every attempt to bury you becomes soil for greater growth. The vision ignites not quietly, but as a blaze, drawing others into its warmth and illuminating a future no one can dim. You carry a resonance that unsettles forces intent on keeping you apart, yet their interference only sharpens your awareness and strengthens your essence. Challenges that once seemed like barriers reveal themselves as teachers, carving depth into your understanding and resilience. Attempts to mislead or corrupt dissolve against the clarity of your growth, for connection shaped by higher design cannot be erased, only ripened through time until both are ready to meet as equals in strength and wisdom. Those who once fed on your energy sense their grip fading and, in their desperation, seek to re-enter under the guise of crisis. As loneliness, loss, or misfortune tighten around them, they turn back, weaving tales of need and sorrow meant to awaken your compassion and disarm your discernment. Their return is not accident but inevitability, for thirsty hearts return to wells they themselves poisoned, hoping for another chance to drink. The appearance of humility and the performance of regret mask a deeper hunger. Words of apology and promises of change become tools, not truths. Illness, scarcity, or frailty are raised as banners to gain entry, to stir your instinct to heal and rescue. Yet beneath this surface lies strategy, not sincerity, every plea a thread of manipulation designed to bind you once more and delay the reckoning that awaits them. A quiet call beckons you elsewhere, toward circles where stories mirror your own and where your journey is not met with dismissal but recognition. The timing of this encounter is no coincidence. Synchrony guides the steps of those who share uncommon light. To step into such a gathering is to stand within a current feared by those who thrive on separation, for shared truth multiplies strength. The question is no longer whether you fit, but when you will choose to arrive. The danger heightens when you open old doors. In moments of weakness, masks slip, and the true intent emerges sharper than ever. As decline hastens, desperation fuels recklessness. With nothing left to lose, they would rather drag all into ruin than face their fating alone. The final chapters of their story are written in attempts to sabotage the rising of yours, hoping your downfall will shadow their own. Safety does not come through avoidance or appeasement, but by standing firm in the certainty of your worth. To claim your truth is to radiate a force no deception can pierce. Recognition of self is the shield, and integrity is the sword that cuts through confusion and fear. You were born marked by an inner compass tuned to what others overlook. Sensitivity becomes the radar that detects storms before they form. Empathy becomes the medicine for wounds unseen. Trust in human goodness becomes wisdom that glimpses the spark buried even in shadows. Yet this same light now teaches you the art of closing doors, allowing endings to clear the way for beginnings. Compassion matures into discernment, love becomes guardian as much as healer, and kindness learns the sacred word no. You are witnessing the echo of choices made long ago, now reverberating through the unseen spaces. Their decline broadcasts itself like trembling ground before collapse. Fragile health, vanishing wealth, and deserted alliances paint the image of a life dismantling from within. Though compassion rises instinctively in you, remembrance steadies you. Their path was carved by their own hands, a deliberate turning toward chaos rather than harmony, and what now unfolds is the echo of those decisions returning to them. While that disintegration spreads across their horizon, yours expands in radiant contrast. Renewal greets you at every corner, opportunities fall into place with uncanny precision, and the weight of former struggles dissolves. Financial increase appears as if drawn from invisible reservoirs, vitality strengthens once suffocated by stagnant energies, and creativity surges freely where once it was blocked. Relationships formed in authenticity flourish into beauty, rendering old manipulations small and powerless by comparison. In an irony woven by cosmic intelligence, their unraveling becomes the catalyst for your growth. What they discard, you inherit at extraordinary value. Ventures they abandoned revive in your hands with backing they never accessed. Roads they burned in anger reconstruct themselves, directing others toward your door with fresh support and unexpected fortune. The unfolding feels less like strategy and more like universal humor balancing the scales. Abilities they once dismissed reveal themselves with undeniable power. The insights you carry, ridiculed before, now illuminate solutions unseen by ordinary logic. The sensitivity they scorned sharpens into an inner compass, allowing you to perceive beyond surface illusions and chart a course through uncertainty with accuracy. Each attempt to weaponize your gifts only trained them into mastery, transforming vulnerability into unmatched perception. What unsettles them most is not collapse, but the ripple you create in others. By standing firm through adversity, you ignite courage in those who once hid their brilliance. Witnessing your endurance, quiet observers find their own voices. Healers who once concealed their strength step forward boldly, inspired by the living proof that resilience is possible. Your example becomes the flame that lights countless others, magnifying what they once tried to extinguish.